What's up, y'all? I want to talk to you today about how I got a Nintendo 64 and how I found out about a Nintendo 64 back in the day. God, it was a long time ago. I'm looking at myself right here in the camera, and it's like, I think it's because of the beard. The beard really makes me look a lot older. But anyways, let's get into it. So I started learning about the Nintendo 64 in school. Not from the teacher or anything like that, but sitting in class, I remember kids talking about, oh yeah, Donnie has a Nintendo 64. So this was like 1996, like school had been in session. It was September, late September. That's when the N64 came out in 96. And some of the kids in my class already had one. I thought, what was a Nintendo 64? Like, I didn't even know it existed until after it was already released. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 90s. There was no internet that you could just go and look up and see the latest games, consoles, games, whatever's coming out. It was basically, if you weren't subscribed to Nintendo Power, or you didn't, like, look at other gamer magazines to see what was up, you're basically left in the dark. How you were updated on knowing what was out was by going to Walmart and looking in the game case and seeing then. Or maybe a TV commercial. That was about it. So back to the classroom, I remember Donnie talking about, yeah, on the Nintendo 64, you could jump up on the trees and see the leaves fall out of the trees, and like everything is just so different and cool. It's like, whoa. Now me at this point, you know, I had no idea what Super Mario 64 was, and I was thinking, like, what? There's no way it could get any better than what, you know, Donkey Kong Country for the SNES. Look at the graphics. Look at how 3D it is. Look at Killer Instinct. What? In the 90s, my mom was working at a daycare at a bowling alley, and a lot of times, me and my brother would be brought to the daycare just because, you know, Dad was working nights also, whatever. And we would just be let loose inside the bowling alley. And where do we wind up most of the time? The arcade section. And in this arcade section, there was both the Cruisin' USA arcade, where you could actually literally sit down in the car. I think it was a side-by-side, two-player mode. There was one of those, and then there was also the Killer Instinct arcade. And both of those arcades described and advertised Nintendo Ultra 64. There was always this announcer on there in between, you know, screenplays of the game, and it'd be like, coming soon to Nintendo Ultra 64.
Available for your home in 1995, only on Nintendo Ultra 64.
So I was aware of that, but just Nintendo 64, you know, I didn't know about the name change or anything. So that was like, you know, late 95 all the way up till Christmas of 1996. I remember, you know, just going to that bowling alley. There was also a pinball machine with World Cup 94. Had the little dog with the holding the little ball bearing of the pinball in his hand. I remember that. And then there was the Area 51 arcade, which was really cool too. I think that came later, but anyways. And then in the library of the school, they started getting gamer magazines. And in these gamer magazines, there would be full articles on Super Mario 64 and, you know, Cruisin' USA and like all the starter first release games for the N64. So that's what would be like me vicariously playing the video game would be like, oh, it's library time, October 96, November 96. Let's go and look. Hopefully no one else grabbed that magazine so I could just look at the still shots of these N64 games. And I would just be drooling. I would be drooling. Then one night we were at Target, and I think this was around like, yeah, mid-November. There was a kiosk that had the Nintendo 64 and Super Mario. This was one of those setups where the controller was there, but the TV was way up here, so you had to like look up kind of the whole time and kill your neck. And so, like, I looked at this controller, and I'm like, what is this stick in the center? So I'm like holding the stick, kind of like it'd be like a mini arcade stick or whatever. But then there was a TV next to the kiosk that also had a guy showing exactly how to hold it. So as soon as I learned how to hold the controller just right, put the thumb over the stick, you know, it took a little bit to get used to, but right after that, I was like, man, this is so much better. I'm like, I don't know how anybody could use the D-pad anymore for anything. So this is just memories before I got an N64. So the last thing I remember was we were at Sears, and Sears upstairs inside the mall had a video game like Nintendo World like center, and there was a kiosk with Super Mario 64 playing. And I remember this dude, he's probably around 17, 18 playing it, and the demo would cut off at a certain point. And then Mario's voice would come over and say, "Thank you for playing Nintendo 64. Who's next?" Then I just remember the dude continuously hitting reset, and there would be a button, I don't know if it reset it or whatever, but he would just keep playing regardless. I mean, no one else was there in line. I saw it from a distance because Mom was buying, like, I don't know, dishes or something, and we had to go, so there was no chance of me playing with it then. The few days before Christmas, before the bowling alley shut down for the night, I remember just thinking, man, hopefully Santa gets us a Nintendo 64. And I remember going to see Santa that Christmas season and asking him for a Nintendo 64. And I remember he said, because it was very important to me, he said, "Oh, let's see, I think some elves got some parts here and there to make it." I'm like, yeah, we're in, baby. And then we got the N64 for Christmas. 2 games, Super Mario 64 and Cruis'n USA, and a second controller, a green one. And yeah, it was great. 1996 was a great year. It was before everything went downhill. Anyways, peace out, guys. See you later.
Available for your home in 1995, only on Nintendo Ultra 64. Killer Instinct.